Welcome to the Startempire Wire Founders Podcast, where we make entrepreneurial founders a top priority. Each episode features risk takers, business builders, community shapers, institutional and government supporters in our local startup ecosystem. Tune in weekly to hear all about what's happening with the movers and the shakers of Southern California's Inland Empire and beyond. To another episode of the Founders Podcast. These podcasts are meant to inform you about what is going on here in the Inland Empire startup ecosystem. When lots of people say we don't have a lot of things going on, I just simply like to point them to the podcast, And today we have a fascinating guest, Gary Rettberg with the Center for Social Innovation at UCR. You're the director there, Gary?
Research manager.
So tell us about yourself, tell us what you do, and then we're going to get into what the center is about.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Various. So first, I do want to say thank you for having me and for the amazing work that you are doing. Your podcast and the website are fantastic. And this is exactly what I've been telling everybody. This is exactly what we need in the Inland Empire. We need to showcase our great talent and all the innovation that's happening right here. We're always focused on the coast hubs and that kind of thing, but our own innovation ecosystem is where it's happening. So I'm glad you're out there doing the work on the ground. So before I get too off the rails, my name is Gary Rettberg. I'm the research manager at the Center for Social Innovation at UCR. Originally from New Jersey, but I moved out into the IE in 2016. Had a couple jobs in economic and community development, but eventually I went back to school. I graduated with my master's in public policy at UCR.
Sweet.
And it was perfect timing because as I was graduating, the position became available to oversee the research at the center. So I've been there for a little over 3 years, and we've just produced a ton of research and reports, on the IE on a lot of different subjects. And mainly the center's focus has been on the Inland Empire and how our region compares to others in California. And kind of through it all, there's really like a common theme that comes up again and again. And it's, yes, the Inland Empire definitely faces our unique challenges. But when you look at the data by a lot of measures, especially economic activity, we're doing pretty well for ourselves. And the communities that live here and the people, they've got this grit and determination, that is exceptional. And that's how you get that kind of innovation,
Yeah.
But yes, definitely, we need to do better in terms of like equity, sustainability, other factors like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of it is how we tell the story of the Inland Empire. That's kind of how our center thinks about it.
Okay.
And it's been changing slowly. I know you've been here for a while too. And we're not the land of cheap dirt anymore, right?
Right.
We're the land of research universities. We've got cybersecurity in Cal State San Bernardino that's nationally recognized, right? We've got the ag tech at UCR, healthcare at Loma Linda University. A talented
biotech.
Yeah, biotech, talented and diverse workforce, and some of the best community organizations around. They step up and they get stuff done. And that's all while being the underdog, being underfunded, and looked over. So I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Well, we were having a conversation previously. And we talked about how the Inland Empire is seen kind of like, don't go there, don't talk about them.
Right.
If you release it, LA Times, these big publications, I know the trend. I see the trend. All of the times a big publication is talking about the Inland Empire, it's in a negative light. And so, I mean, like, why would you guys want to start an innovation center directly in the middle of the place the LA Times says there's nothing going on there.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good segue, actually. So the Center for Social Innovation, which is in the School of Public Policy at UCR, was founded in 2018 by Dr. Karthik Ramakrishnan. So he's a professor of public policy at the school. He's also nationally known as a scholar on Asian American politics.
Nice.
And you can check him out at karthik.com, where he has all of this stuff. I wish I had Gary.com, but
that's a hard one to get.
I know. So just Karthik and a couple grad students started the center, and it was very much a startup at that time.
That's cool.
And anyone that, and in fact, when I came on a year later, it's still very much a startup. And, anyone that has met Karthik knows that he's got that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, focused on innovation and change. And, and we move quick, but we also know that, change doesn't happen by just doing the same things that we've always done.
Right,
so,
right.
Sometimes you have to reach, sometimes you have to take a chance. Sometimes you do get burned, but sometimes you do, incredible things.
Yes.
So we've really grown as a center, and now we have several full-time positions. We have a community engagement team. We've added to our research team. And we also employ a bunch of graduate students who are really, really essential to the work that we do.
Can y'all send some of those graduate students my way?
Yeah. So, social innovations, it's all about, improving the well-being of our community.
Okay.
And that's through, new or better mechanisms, so we want to work with community, and we want to provide that data and research that can kind of feed into that. And and while we are a center within UCR, we are independent in terms of like funding and stuff. So we're able to take on projects that we think are going to have the most impact in our region.
So that's pretty interesting. Even though you're within the university, you guys operate independently in many ways from the university, right?
Yes. Yep.
That's great. So you're not like bogged down by bureaucracy and things moving slow or anything like that?
No. We very much, and sometimes we get in trouble for moving very quickly. But but like I said, sometimes you do. Sometimes it's really important to be able to jump on things that come up and kind of seize those moments. And in the innovation sector, in the private sector, I mean that's really what it's all about too. So we like to be able to move at that speed so we can kind of keep up with our partners in that way too.
That's really important, and in our last conversation, we talked a little bit about some of this stuff as well. That the swiftness and speediness of a startup and being able to make your own decisions, which is really great. You told me about a framework, DNA. What does that mean?
Yeah, so DNA is data, narrative, and action. Okay. And essentially, it's kind of at the heart of everything we do. So at the end of the day, we kind of see CSI as a catalyst for systems change. So that's a fancy way to say we take data and research and use it to tell different stories about the Inland Empire. Okay. And stories you could also call narrative, right? Okay. And then that would translate into different types of action. So that's the DNA framework. You've got the data, you tell the narrative or your story, and then you can use that for action. And importantly, we work in partnership with our community organizations and local leaders that, share our vision, values, right? Values. Yeah. So we have, up on our website, because our director loves acronyms. So we have a ton of acronyms, right? We have CSI, DNA, all this stuff, right? So our shared
like
values,
the military.
Exactly right. So we have resilience, inclusion, sustainability, and equity, which is RISE.
RISE.
Right?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So the DNA, the framework really does play into all the research we've done and that we continue to do, and especially around the innovation ecosystem work that we're doing.
Okay. So what are your ecosystem or innovation showcases? What are those about? That's another thing you guys did recently.
Yeah. So we do these quarterly innovation showcases, and kind of just like your podcast is we take different founders and entrepreneurs and innovators from the region, and we get them together, kind of like a fast pitch kind of thing, where
nice.
So they'll present a little bit and talk about their company or their idea or their service, and then we give feedback. And we've been, over the past couple of years, we've been kind of building a pretty good group of people. So actually, there were some pretty decent, like some heavy hitters like in our group, right?
That's awesome.
So you're getting some pretty decent feedback from some of these people. And what we've kind of noticed with the research that we've done with the innovation ecosystem is that we've got all this stuff, but it is fractured, right? Just like you say at the top of the podcast, right? We've got all this stuff, but it's siloed. It's in different areas.
Yes.
Part of the work of I squared is what we called it, right? So another acronym, right?
Sorry. Yeah.
IE Innovation Ecosystem.
That's great. I love that one.
Yeah.
It's really clever. It's really clever. Yeah.
That's Karthik again. He loves acronyms. Yeah. So part of that work is like to do those things, but also to build up that those groups and the ecosystem in that way and connect people.
Okay.
Because it's, an ecosystem is definitely about competition for sure, friendly competition, right?
Yeah.
You got to have that. But you also want to be able to connect and build on other people's success. That's how you do it, right?
Right.
And as we grow, and I mean, like we really are growing, it's going to be more important to do that kind of work.
Right. The Inland Empire startup ecosystem industry is tremendously fragmented. A few top-tier hubs, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, are well covered by media, events, and data platforms. Finding reliable information relevant to startups or the tech industry in the Inland Empire is extremely difficult. As a result, startups can't scale fast enough. Investors are having a hard time finding the right deals, and corporates can't find the right companies to partner with for their innovation activities. Startempire Wire, the leading Inland Empire startup publication, is providing the Inland Empire startup ecosystem with the most accurate, engaging business and financial data, events, and news. Our reach of entrepreneurs, C-level executives, angels, VC investors, startup employees, key management at innovative corporates, and big tech is the solution for your B2B or B2C needs. As we build out our platform, we're looking for partners. This is your opportunity to get in on the ground level. If you're looking to align yourself with the local and growing startup and tech ecosystem of the Inland Empire, we have created the platform to get your name noticed and the opportunity for you to grow the recognition of your brand. Contact us today for availability and pricing options. We look forward to our partnership with you. Okay, so when I first came across the the innovation ecosystem work that you guys were doing, it was in a report from last year or the previous year about the funding that had been received. I watched the presentation that you guys put on YouTube. I don't know how I came across you guys. It was in our research. We've used parts of your research to write articles on Startempire Wire. I mean, the reports are pretty fabulous. And now you guys are getting ready to push out something else. What is that? And can we talk a little bit about the research?
Yeah. So that report was released in April 2021. And, it had a bunch of different indicators.
Yes.
And at the time, the kind of overall takeaway that by all of these different measurements, the IA ecosystem is strong and it's growing a lot,
Awesome.
And now there's been a ton more research, right? Not just us, CSUSB, they've done a State of Entrepreneur report. I don't know if you've seen that. That's really good.
Oh, State of the Entrepreneur report is fabulous. I really, and they did like a public presentation of it too, which was really good,
Yeah. They're doing some great stuff. And, and now there are like all these new innovation centers coming online too, that are doing the work.
Yeah.
So there's a ton. We've also done a report on good jobs in the region that we talked a little bit about. And,
now, did you guys get the good jobs information like similarly from the Brookings report?
We kind of did our own. So we worked with an economist called Michael Bates, who's at UCR.
Okay.
And we kind of took the idea of the Brookings report, and we there's a few things that we added to the definition of good jobs. And I don't have it in front of me, so I'd have to look and see exactly what it is. But
okay.
We looked at it kind of in terms of like, okay, here's a good job, right? In terms of like, here's the economic limit, right?
Right.
But you also need to look at like benefits and room for growth and those kind of things as well, right?
Oh,
so
yes.
It's not so much that like, okay, this person makes over $55K a year, and that's like the median for this region, so technically that's a good job. It's like, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right?
Right. Right.
So it kind of it looked a little bit about that, and but even taking those things into consideration, our region has done pretty well in terms of like COVID recovery and all that. And I know that we've got some even some like national recognition on that.
Really?
Yeah, like talking about I don't know if it's the I think it's in our new report that Stacy
flagged. In the new report. Okay.
Yeah, there's a like one of the top growing regions, for like jobs and that kind of thing. So
okay.
So there's a lot for sure.
So let's go in depth a little bit more into this report. What all is in the new report?
Yes.
And when is it coming out and all the great stuff? I mean, we plan on pushing it out with this podcast as well, but like, what's the official date?
Yeah, so well, the official date is today, which is September 6th. So we're going to be pushing it out today, but when this airs, it'll be next week. So it will be out. So we'll share the links and everything. So please go to isquare.org and check it out. We're going to be doing some press releases and some stuff like that. And we have a couple media partners as well that are going to be doing some pushes. So I'm sure
one of those media partners is Startempire Wire.
Yeah, right, exactly. We have it's
IE Business Journal.
Yeah. And is it Tech Brewed? Man.
Yeah, Fresh Brew Tech. Neil Bloom.
Fresh Brew Tech. Yeah.
Yep. So
sorry, I don't have that on the tip of my tongue. But
he was like our last podcast guest, our two podcast guests before this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Fresh Brew Tech.
So we've done those, like that bigger report in April.
Okay.
But kind of because the nature of innovation, like these data points are constantly changing, right?
Right.
And so much has happened in the past couple of years.
Okay.
We thought that it would be smart to kind of do a yearly update.
Yes.
So not like a full scale thing, but to kind of release like a short data supplement that kind of highlights the past year.
Okay.
So again, we partnered with Stacy over at Blended Impact to do this. So we created it as an infographic. So it's a PDF that's on our website that it doesn't have like a full scale analysis, but it has like really easy charts and just kind of big bullet points that you can just look at. Anyone can look at it and say like, okay, here's the takeaway, So it's really easy to share on social. And, we can take these kind of bite-sized pieces and share it throughout the region and in different sectors that people are interested in different stuff. So I don't want to give too much away because I want people to go check it out. But 2021 was a year of some serious growth.
Okay.
Even in spite of the economics, impacts from the pandemic,
COVID.
So we saw things like, over $100 million in investment activity, right?
Wow.
Just for that 1 year, right?
100 million.
And that's up from previous year, for sure.
Previous year, what was like previous year? Can you remember?
The previous year, I think it was like between 88 or 89 million, which is
pretty
good.
Pretty good.
But we're still growing, We've had the 4 new innovation centers that have opened up.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about the jobs. We saw 120% increase in STEM-related job postings since 2016.
That's freaking awesome. That rocks.
Yeah. So that outpaces the state, LA County, and San Diego. And you want to talk about tech, LA and San Diego is where you're going, right?
Right.
But in terms of growth,
supposedly,
the IEs is,
I honestly think a lot of people, just because of our conversations and some of the things that we've shared and just the research that, we've done, the IE is that hidden gem. People need to catch on. They need to get in on the ground level. They need to, before it explodes, because some real successes are going to come out of this region. And that's what I love about data. And, in the framework that you guys offer helps us to understand, you're getting, you're compiling this data, you're collating this data, which helps us set a narrative, for the region, which the narrative for the region has always been, there's nothing in the Inland Empire. This place sucks. And then helps us to take action and do, different things in the region. I love that framework. I keep that in mind and I apply. That's what I've been applying even before I even had the words put to that. That's what we've been doing.
Exactly.
So that's really cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot to be hopeful for. I mean, and that's just the beginning, really.
Yeah.
And I think, 5-10 years, we're going to see just tremendous growth, really.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity. And like you said, this is the time to get in and put the work in. Because, more investments coming in, there are different things happening. The state is starting to get, more interested and putting some money, in actually, in some Lithium Valley work and more money in community organizations. So, it's happening. It is.
Well, in the iHub, are you familiar with the iHub grant that the state does, an iHub 2 grant? They put out this massive grant. I think it's open right now, but there's a massive grant, iHub 2, and it's like, I can't even remember the number. It's just huge, but it's for like growing STEM related hubs, and usually it's for like overlooked or underserved populations type things. But that's out there, and I think the iHub facility in Palm Desert was the one who received the grant in the past. So
Joe Wallace out there.
Yeah. So I mean, which is there's just so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity for people to begin to help build, value into the region. And so,
and that's the thing. Part of it's like people don't really think about it, but our region is so big, right? The 2 counties together is like the size of South Carolina, right? So we're like a state. So, you've got that stuff happening out in the desert, and you've got stuff in Riverside, but it is kind of like all over the place. So part of that struggle is like, okay, yes, you have the uniqueness of these different regions, but how can we get together and kind of push forward in a way that's not tearing each other down or competing in a way that it isn't helpful, but like how can we push forward together and do it, and I think we're starting to do it. I think everyone knows what we need to do.
I think it's in the air. It's in the
Yeah.
air. It's out there. My question to you is, from all of the data you've seen, because you deal with data all day long, especially within this region, what would you say are some of the things that need to happen, like in this region, from looking at all the data? You just put together the report, some action items. What are some action items for business owners in the region, maybe investors, startups, entrepreneurs, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think part of it would be, that we do have just like a ton of great assets here. So investing in some of the stuff that we already have, I think, is really important. So there are just like the people that you showcase, right? Various those people that are getting in the ground floor, that are coming up with these ideas, these innovative ideas, get in and invest in that, because that's going to be kind of the foundation, because they're going to be plugged into this ecosystem that's growing. And the more that, we can help people coming in at the ground level, the better it's going to be. We've got some pretty good in terms of like the university side, that private partnership connection, that's building up and increasingly so. So I think that's going to be a really important factor going forward. But on the private side, I think just like in terms of like small scale stuff, like if we can put some money into that, I think that'll help a lot. Because when you talk to people at that level, like small scale, they're the ones that have the passion, they have the grit. Like
that's
they're
true.
Get it done. If you fund that person, they're gonna get it done. And so I think partly there, like it's easy to say like, okay, I want to fund this, kind of well-established thing that's already here. It's got all this stuff, and that makes sense financially for sure. And you should do that. But I think it's also important to recognize that on the community side, on the smaller scale side, that kind of stuff needs to be funded, and funding for kind of organizations like yourself that are helping people at that level, connections, right? So like, how can we do some more funding for organizations that are going to be the kind of glue for that, right? Keep, obviously, like, independence, you don't want to have like one consolidated thing, right? And say like, this is the voice of the innovation ecosystem in the Immigrant Empire, right? Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you need separate entities, right? That compete with each other,
Right, exactly. So I think that is kind of where, it would be smart to kind of boost the whole ecosystem. In terms of like sectors though, like the biotech stuff is just exploding, if I had money, I would put it there. You know what I mean?
They had an event in Marietta recently, and it was just pretty awesome. There was I can't remember, like 15 biotech companies there. All from the Inland Empire.
Right. And the important thing is to know that, like, okay, we've got our ecosystem, but it's inherently linked up with, like logistics in the port of LA. It's linked up with San Diego and all the tech stuff there. Even actually out in, Arizona and New Mexico, the ag tech ecosystem, there's a lot of stuff happening there. A lot of really cool stuff at UCR in terms of ag tech, different kind of sensors that have been, invented and all that kind of stuff. So there's just a ton. I think, it's like telling the story. Like people don't realize that all this stuff is happening, right at their back door.
And that's, I think that's the part that maybe sometimes is more of a struggle is putting together a good story. Right. I have a guy who was on this interview before. He had a video company called A Good Story Company. But that a good story that we can put out that becomes a new narrative for the region is powerful to influence people.
Right.
Because people are more interested in the story. They don't care about the data. Like
Right.
Nerds care about the data. Nerds dig into the data, and we're like, yeah.
Right. Yeah, but without a story to go with it or something you can relate to, you're just looking at numbers.
And
right?
stories inspire that action, right? Stories inspire that action. They
Exactly.
influence and they motivate. That's so good.
Yeah. And of course, like, you have to pay attention too, because you can use data in all kinds of different ways. I could take the same data point and give you a couple different stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could say, okay, well, if you look at all this stuff, actually, there are some problems over here. But
true. Yeah.
So it's how you use the data, how you present it, and how it's kind of built into the whole thing.
There's a book I often go back to this book because I think it's a really good lesson. It's a book called Acres of Diamonds. Have you ever heard of that book?
No, I haven't.
I told this story on another podcast.
But
Acres of Diamonds. Yeah, I can't remember the author's name, but the lesson is just this. Build in your own backyard, because there is a farmer who was looking for diamonds in South Africa. He actually owned tons of acreage of land. He was desperately seeking these diamonds, and eventually he ended up selling all of his property, because he wanted to go find diamonds and become rich, strike it rich.
Yeah.
The next person came in, found a rock in a stream, and said, "Hey, what is this?" Had it appraised. It was like one of the most valuable diamonds. Turns out the rock was everywhere on the property. The diamonds just hadn't been, cultivated and cut properly. So, like, to one man, it's just it's a rock, but when it's cut properly and bucked and shined, and I mean, like, you put value into it. Right. That is a valuable commodity, and so the book Acres of Diamonds really explains kind of my sentiment for the region.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic analogy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's definitely starting to change. I mean, like, our center isn't that old. 2018 is when we came around, and back then, there was some research on the Inland Empire, but most of it was done from kind of outside resources, right? So people coming in from the outside, and it's hard to understand the dynamic that we have here if you're looking in from the outside and you're just looking at certain numbers and stuff. Because I think that's kind of what had happened, is that, you get some of these reports, and then they do have that kind of negative connotation to it. So that's why part of what we do at the center is we want to take that, that deficit problem mindset and talk about what are the opportunities. Obviously, like, yes, we got to, acknowledge the problems, but focus on, like, okay, where do we go from here, and what's the opportunity as well. So I think that, that's really important to think about going forward. And there's a ton new, just great new research happening here.
Right.
So it's happening, we're in it, right?
Yes. So tell us, Gary, what are some of the two short-term goals of the center, and maybe we can expand from there.
Yeah. So in terms of short goals, I would say, we want to get this research out there, and we want to partner with organizations, like Startempire Wire, to show the rest of the state and the country, what's happening here in the IE, and that they should be paying attention. And I think that some of that's, it's already starting to happen. Like I said, there is some national recognition, there's more government investments, but we do need to get together and be less fragmented in terms of how we're telling our story to the outside, right?
Okay.
And like I said, at the top of your podcast, you say it, we're siloed, we're fragmented in different ways, but our future goal would be to be better, to better come together and then have that friendly competition, but do what's best for our region together, and, not tear each other down. So I think, part of that is, like, getting that data out there and partnering for us. Like, we're not experts on everything. We want to be the research voice.
Yes.
But, we're willing to partner with anyone that shares our values, and on a bunch of different topics,
Right.
to just get it out there. Because I think it's important that kind of where you're starting from to then look at the opportunities to go from there, so you have to have those kind of baseline reports and say like, okay, here's the data, here's where we're at, where do we want to go, and how do we build that thing? And if CSI can be a part of that in any way, we're really excited. So that's
there's
kind of where we're at.
There's another analogy. The other analogy that I think of is to rising tide. So a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So you guys are helping us to understand what tide is rising with your data. Is there? So the next question would be, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, where do you see the research going? What can you see from what you've been a part of already? 3 years out, 5 years out, maybe 10 years out.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I mean, I think it's going to be phenomenal. So, for the future, we're looking to build on this, right? Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we want to be that research voice for the IE and for the innovation ecosystem. We don't have to be the only research voice. I hope there are more. We get together and do, a lot of stuff. So we want to provide that data research as best we can. But like we said, it doesn't do any good sitting on a website. So we need to try and actionize it. So, we're armed with this data and knowledge, right? So where do we go from here? And I think that's kind of what we have to figure out together as a team.
Yeah.
So, for example, one partnership I'm really excited about that we're going to be doing, we're going to be working with the new Randall Lewis Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact at University of Laverne. On a few projects. So we're going to be doing some events, probably, sometime in the fall, maybe, some hybrid events.
Nice.
And that's where the innovation showcases are going to come in, because I think we're going to try to do that, partner with them, and then and do a couple different things. So that's going to be really cool. We don't have a
set date yet
for that, because we're going to wait till the center officially opens, and then we'll kind of pin that down. But you can always check out isquare.org for the details, upcoming events. That's also where you'll find the new data supplement, and all of our work on the innovation ecosystem. But I'm excited to be a part of it. I've learned so much in just the past couple of years, just being at the center. I got my master's. That was a couple of years, and I learned, I learned a good bit. But being at the center and being in that work, that's where I learned the most. So just being on the ground. Yes. Because you can read books and all that kind of stuff and think about it. But, actually when you're doing the work, it gets messy and there's stuff that you got to figure out, right?
Yes.
But it's good. It's all good stuff, at the end of the day. It really is.
All right. So in 5 years, what about 5 years?
And in 5 years, I think, this is going to be I don't know if we'll be able to really recognize, it'll be the same thing, I think we're going to be talking about a different set of problems at that point, I think we're going to have some stuff, more well established. I think the investments are going to keep coming in, and just the sheer growth, population wise, various, we're going to be seeing just changes to the landscape and stuff like that too. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, there is a price of growth for some of this stuff, right? And you want to make sure you're doing these things in a way that doesn't, hurt community, that is done in a sustainable way.
You guys were talking a little bit about the Lithium Valley stuff. Yeah, we've done a little bit of work on the Lithium Valley side, mostly in terms of community engagement. So, so some investments are going to be coming down about lithium extraction out in the region. And the work that we've been doing is just to make sure that the community has a voice in some of that. So that it's not purely okay, we're going to come in,
and just extract this
Your
resource.
resource. Yeah.
And then, maybe in like 10, 20, 30 years, like, okay, it's done. Let's go home. Right.
Right.
And
Yeah. No, that would be horrible.
The situation that you have on the East Coast or in coal country where you have, the coal mines have shut down, and then those, so you want to.
So no sustainable economy built up around that.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do here. Right.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that, and you want to make sure that the community that lives here benefits, that they're able to get those good jobs, and they're able to, reinvest in the community. So part of that is
this is policy. This is policy, right? So it's like policy influence as well too, right?
Oh yeah.
That's cool. That's big. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I had like a crystal ball to see, because I feel like there could be a couple different ways that the IE could grow, because we do have kind of specialization in all these different aspects.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the ag tech stuff, and then there's the biotech stuff that's happening. Even like green logistics stuff is happening too.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
There's a lot of different things that it'll be interesting to see, like what ends up kind of on top, or are we going to be kind of known as like a diversity, like is there going to be just a couple different sectors that we've got going? I don't know.
I know it's hard to tell, right? So but I'm going to ask you to pull up that crystal ball one more time. Or just trajectory wise, from what you see in the data in 10 years, what do you think the center? I mean, I know you don't make all decisions or anything like that, but just let's just have fun guessing. What do you think the center will be contributing in 10 years, and and then how do you think the region would look in 10 years?
Well, I would love to, like, just based on kind of like the growth that we've had so far, I would love for the center to be just like a regional kind of go-to place for data and research, right? Mm-hmm. And not just for the Inland Empire, but for Southern California, and other kind of regions in California that usually that don't always get kind of their fair shake of it, right? So there are like other regions like the San Joaquin Valley, right? And other areas that are kind of comparable to the Inland Empire. Imperial Valley, like there's
Imperial Valley
there, like we've been doing some more work with them, so
that's cool.
I would think we want to kind of keep up this reputation as like fighting for the underdog, right? Yeah. So more work there, kind of expanding our work. We've actually been doing some work with the census. So nothing is official. At this point, we're just like talking. But we're looking into making our relationship a little more official with the U.S. Census, being able to provide data for people and that kind of thing. So like I said, maybe I shouldn't have said that because I don't know if it's official yet, but
all views published are Gary's own views.
Exactly. But essentially, I mean, the main takeaway is like, I want us to be like that go-to resource, and to rely on the talent that we have in the IE, like we don't need to be outsourcing, getting, like the best economists in Massachusetts. We don't need that. We've got really great economists here that we can, So I think it's going to be, in terms of the center, like, I think we're going to continue to grow. I think we're going to expand. I think we're definitely going to be doing some more work. Man, in terms of the region, like, I don't know, 10 years, like, I know the last 2 years, various have blown my mind so much. I can't even imagine like thinking out like what the next thing is going to be like. But I mean, I hope that if we stay on this trajectory, like looking at the data and stuff, like it's going to be phenomenal. So I would say stay here, like invest in community organizations, like if you can, like
read the data reports, read the innovation report. Ecosystem report, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because that'll keep them informed.
Exactly. Yes, we're going to be doing that every year. So that'll keep you up to date on like, kind of different investment activities and and just kind of see what's happening. Because a lot of times it's not, just like out on the open published, right?
There you go. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Because it's not published and it's not public and it's not publicized or advertised or marketed, people don't think it's there. But typically investors flock together, Yeah. And if you go to PitchBook, if you go to to Crunchbase, you're gonna see that the growth of finances in this region are like, they've been crazy.
Yeah, and that's what, like, the new supplement, a lot of the analysis is based on the Crunchbase website.
Okay.
So that's what, and the thing is though, like that data, like you do have to pay for it, right?
You have to pay for it. Yep.
So you have to be able to kind of like, make that investment to do that. So that's kind of like what we're doing, providing kind of as a service, right? Like,
very cool.
We're paying us along with Blended Impact, like we're picking up the tab to do this research, to put it out there. That way people can see it. Because otherwise, like you said, it's not really out there. The counties and the cities, they do some stuff, but they also have a lot of budget constraints, right? So, there's limited stuff and it changes every year. Once you get it out, then it's like, well, is that still valid? Because all this other stuff happened, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I guess my question is like, you guys are pulling data from multiple resources, you're collating it. Like what would you say the value of what you guys are doing is for the region? If you were to, is there something that price or you can put on that? I know you guys are putting it out for free,
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say like, especially if you're like an investor and stuff, like that kind of stuff really is invaluable. Like you need to have that information to make smart decisions. And you need to be able to build, have your decisions come from some kind of basis, right? So I think it's, part of what we do, we're funded by a bunch of different streams. And a lot of it is, to bolster up the community, right?
Yeah.
Like, so kind of what I see is like, we're doing this research so that people can invest, people can kind of, do what they need to do to help grow the region. And then ultimately, like you said, that's going to help lift up the region as a whole. So you're going to have better jobs. You're going to have more, research institutions. You're going to have more tech stuff, So all that's really coming. But, we just want to play a small part here to be able to kind of provide some of that data.
I think it's valuable. It's so valuable, Gary.
Yeah.
Because, you never know who's sitting on the edge and they're like, maybe I should invest, maybe I shouldn't. And then they see a data point and they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Now they feel, spurred on and, okay, I made an intelligent decision based on data. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the very least, I mean, hey, like data aside, just like, like look at the people that you feature on your podcast. Like even the conversation we're having now, like if you just solely base it on like the passion and the grit and the determination that's here, like I feel like you're going to get a pretty good return on your investment. Just
that's so true.
Because
that's so true.
I mean, you're in it. You talk to some of these people, and like they are doing this work, and they're not going to fail. Like
that's right. That's right. That's right.
So I think that's another aspect too. Like, you do, it's important to follow the data. It's important to have all that research, but at the end of the day, you are investing in people and community, right?
That's it. Yes. That's so good.
So that's another part of it that I think is really important.
Awesome. Well, Gary, I really love what you guys are doing at the Center for Social Innovation. I really appreciate that you coming on the podcast and give us once again the date of what the report that's coming out, and also tell us where can people find Center for Social Innovation, follow it, what you guys are doing, all of the websites, all of the locations, even your own personal ones as well too.
Yeah, well, I don't have Gary.com yet, so
okay. Run that one.
But yeah, so please go to isquare.org. That will have all of our innovation ecosystem research. The data supplement that we've been talking about in detail is on there. That's /2021 ecosystem highlights, but you'll be able to see it as soon as you go on there. You'll see it. So that'll have all the information about the past research, any upcoming events like the showcase. If you are interested in being on the innovation showcase, please reach out to me, because we're always looking for people.
How do they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me at gary.rettberg@ucr.edu. That's my email. And maybe we can just I don't know if you send out stuff, but I can give you a bunch of links and stuff, various afterwards.
Yeah, we could put it, because this is publishing this Thursday actually. And we're putting out an article with it, and so we can put that in there as well.
Excellent. And then for CSI, we're socialinnovation.ucr.edu.
Okay.
So that'll be all the Center for Social Innovation stuff.
Nice.
Is on there. And I think that's it. Yeah, so those are the main two. Those the social innovation, CSI, and then I Squared.
Is there an email news list for any one of those, or that can get onto?
Yeah, you can sign up on on each of those websites. There's a newsletter thing that you can sign up for.
Perfect.
And of course, like I said, we're always interested in partnering. So please, we love to partner. Yeah. We're not experts in everything, so we bring some of the research stuff to the table, but maybe your organization specializes in stuff that we don't. So we're very open, and would love to partner with people that and organizations that share our values and want to see the region grow and continue to prosper. So
we love it. So thank you again for coming on, Gary. Appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here on the Founders Podcast. Yeah. First, please click the bell. Click the like button. If you haven't liked this channel on YouTube, subscribe to us. Follow us on Instagram. Share out this podcast to 3 friends. And let's spread the word here in the Inland Empire. Let's grow our community. We're excited about what's happening here on the ground level, and we all want to be a part of it. So thanks again for tuning in to the Founders Podcast.
Yes.
Peace.
Thanks, Marius.